Time didn't heal Fazza. It just taught him how to carry the weight without letting it show. Mornings became quieter. Not peaceful, just empty. The kind of silence that doesn't comfort you, but reminds you of what used to fill it. He built routines the way broken people do, not because they enjoy them, but because routines don't ask questions. He woke up early, even on days he didn't have to. Made coffee he rarely finished. Sat by the window, watching a world that kept moving as if nothing had ever stopped. But inside him, something had. Writing became his only escape. Not for fame, not for attention, but survival. Words were the only place where he could still meet her. Where memories didn't fade, and endings could be rewritten, even if just for a moment. He never wrote her name. But every line belonged to era. Months turned into years, and Fazza slowly became someone people admired but never really knew. His stories gained attention. His words began reaching hearts he would never meet. People called him deep, emotional, real. They saw beauty in his pain. But they didn't understand it. Because pain, when lived, is not poetic. It's heavy. It lingers. It changes you in ways you can't explain. At events, people would ask him about love. Have you ever been in love? Someone once asked with a curious smile. Fazza paused, then replied, once. And it was enough to last a lifetime. They thought it was a beautiful answer. They didn't realize it was a painful truth. One evening, while scrolling through messages after a long day, something unusual caught his eye. An unknown number. Just one message. Do you still write about her? His fingers froze over the screen. There was no name. No context. But his heart, it recognized something his mind couldn't explain. He stared at the message for a long time. Then typed slowly, I never stopped. Minutes passed. Then the reply came. I knew you wouldn't. His breath caught. Era, he typed, almost afraid of the answer. The typing dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then finally, some stories don't need names, Fazza. That was enough. They didn't meet again immediately. Instead, they talked. At first, carefully, like two people walking on fragile glass, afraid of breaking what little remained. Their conversations were simple. Safe. Almost distant. How have you been? Good. Are you writing? Yes. But slowly, walls began to crack. The conversations grew longer. Deeper. More dangerous. Late-night texts turned into calls. Calls turned into silence that felt familiar again. The kind of silence that once felt like home. But this time, everything was different. Era was no longer the girl from the bookstore. Life had changed her. There was strength in her now. But also something heavier, like she had learned how to live with things she never chose. I read your stories, she admitted one night. Fazza stayed quiet. You still write like you feel everything, she added softly. I never learned how not to, he replied. There was a pause. Then she said something that shook him. You never moved on, did you? Fazza looked out into the darkness beyond his window. Some people don't leave you, he said. Even when they're gone. The truth was, reconnecting didn't make things easier. It made everything harder. Because now, the distance wasn't just memory. It was real. Ara was still bound by the same life she once couldn't escape. Responsibilities, expectations, a world that didn't leave room for unfinished love stories. And Fazza, he was still the man who loved her. Just better at hiding it. Why did you come back? He asked her one night, his voice quieter than usual. Ara didn't answer immediately. I never really left, she said. That's not fair, he replied, a hint of pain slipping through. I know, she whispered. Silence filled the space between them again. Then she added, I just wanted to know if what we had was still real. Fazza closed his eyes. It never stopped being real, he said. Days passed like this, caught between what they had and what they couldn't have. They never talked about the future. Because they both knew it didn't belong to them. But feelings don't follow logic. And love, once awakened again, refuses to stay quiet. One night, Ara said something unexpected. Let's meet. Fazza's heart skipped. Are you sure? He asked. No, she replied honestly. But I want to. And that was enough. They chose a place far from memories. Not the bookstore. Not familiar streets. Somewhere new. Neutral. Safe. Or at least, they thought it would be. When Fazza saw her again, it felt like time folded in on itself. She looked the same. And completely different. There were stories in her eyes now. Things she had lived through, things she had survived. For a moment, neither spoke. Because words felt too small. You look. He started. Different. She smiled faintly. Stronger, he corrected. She looked at him carefully. You look the same, she said. He raised an eyebrow. Still pretending you're okay? That made him smile genuinely, for the first time in a long while. They talked for hours. About everything. And nothing. But underneath it all, there was one truth neither of them said out loud. They still loved each other. As the evening faded, reality began to creep back in. This wasn't a new beginning. It was a reminder of what they lost. I should go, Ara said softly. Fazza nodded, even though every part of him wanted to stop her. But love had already taught him. Some things can't be held onto, no matter how much you want to. Before she left, she looked at him one last time. Do you ever wish things were different? She asked. Fazza took a deep breath. Every day. She smiled sadly. Me too. That night changed everything. Because now, they couldn't pretend anymore. Not about the past. Not about the present. And definitely not about how they felt. Fazza returned home, But sleep didn't come. Instead, he sat at his desk, staring at a blank page. For the first time in years he didn't know what to write. Because this time, the story wasn't over. And that scared him more than any ending ever had. That night didn't end when Fazza reached home. It stayed. In the silence of his room. In the half-written pages on his desk. In the way his heart refused to return to the version of itself that had learned how to live without her. Because now Ara wasn't just a memory again. She was real. Present. Breathing somewhere in the same city. And that changed everything. The next few days were different. Fazza tried to go back to normal writing, attending events, replying to messages, but nothing felt the same anymore. His mind kept drifting back to her voice, her eyes, the way she still understood him without asking questions. He picked up his pen one evening, hoping words would come like they always did. But they didn't. Because for years, he had written about losing her. Now, he didn't know what this was. Ara wasn't unaffected either. She tried to keep her life steady, controlled, untouched by what had resurfaced. But emotions don't follow rules. Not when they've been buried, not when they've waited this long. She found herself staring at her phone more often. Rereading their conversations. Pausing at his words like they held something she had lost and found again at the same time. And one night, she gave in. "Are you awake?" Fazza replied almost instantly. "I don't think I slept." Ara smiled faintly, though her eyes carried something heavier. "Me neither." That's how it started again. Not with a decision. Not with a promise. But with a feeling neither of them could ignore anymore. Days turned into stolen hours. Late night calls. Quiet conversations. Unfinished sentences that both of them somehow understood. But this time, there was something else too. Fear. Because now they knew exactly how this could end. "Tell me something honestly," Ara said one night. Fazza leaned back, phone against his ear. "When have I not?" she hesitated. "Are we making the same mistake again?" The question hung heavy. Fazza didn't answer immediately. Because the truth wasn't simple. "Maybe," he finally said. Ara closed her eyes. "Then why does it feel right?" Fazza let out a quiet breath. "Because some mistakes are just love in the wrong timing." That answer didn't fix anything. But it explained everything. They met again. And then again. Each time telling themselves it would be the last. Each time knowing it wouldn't be. Because the more they tried to stay careful, the deeper they fell.